Okay, let's plan some content. Hello, I'm Michael with WriterSanctuary, and today I'm going to be planning out the content for my new blog. In order to do that, I'm going to be using an app called Mindomo. Now, I've been using Mindomo for quite some time. You can set up for free. You can have up to 3 different maps, and I use it for just about everything, especially when it comes to setting up a blog. So in order to start tracking everything, I'm going to start by setting up my categories. So I'm going to pull out one of these little dealies here, and I'm going to name this categories. Oops, categories. And then from here, we can start setting up how we want the categories to appear and the type of content I'm going to be creating for the new blog. And to start things off, I'm going to be creating a category for tutorials, mostly because I've already written two. Now, tutorials are among the top type of content on the internet. People love to learn how to do things and DIY projects. In fact, one of my clients generates 1.3 million visitors from their blogs from specifically the tutorials. That's 300% more than what the blog generates for everything else. Now, the next thing I'm going to be setting up are reviews, because reviews work exceptionally well on just about every blog that I've ever worked on. A big part of that is because people love to do research on the products and services before they decide to buy them. In fact, some of my most popular articles on WriterSanctuary.com are reviews. And you don't necessarily have to have a positive review to have it be successful. Take my palmini mashed review on Crossing Colorado, for example. It's more of a review of telling people to stay away from it. The next thing I'm going to set up are best of, or perhaps some kind of collections maybe. I'm just going to label it collections for now. Essentially, these are listicles, and I don't want to call it listicles because people probably get the wrong idea. Now, best of articles and listicles work fairly well to drive traffic. It's because people like to have options of best ofs. So like if I was to create best of websites to get free royalty-free images. Another example would be top 10 places for online graphic apps for YouTube channel art. The cool thing about this is that you can make them for just about everything, as long as you can find a decent key phrase for it. And there's plenty of them out there. Now, the next category I'm going to create are Q&As. Q&As are another thing that work fairly well, especially if you're able to provide a decent answer for someone's question on the internet. Now, there's a lot of different places you can get Q&A ideas from, like the People Also Ask section of Google or answerthepublic.com. But essentially, I'll start off with a basic question that someone asks, and then I dive deep into the details for the answer to give them as much information as I can. This is something else that works fairly well for WriterSanctuary, especially when it comes to any questions regarding TextBroker. Next category I'm going to set up is pretty much my default for every website is a journal. Now, not all my clients use something like this. Essentially, a journal is for everything else that doesn't have a category. So like if I come up with a topic or a personal opinion or anything else that's relatable that is not a listicle or a review or tutorial, all kind of rolls into that. I can just use a journal as like a free catch-all for the entire topic on the website. Personal experiences work good as a journal. So essentially it's anything that's niche related that doesn't have a category. What about creating subcategories? Well, subcategories could work okay as long as there's enough information in the category to make it worthwhile. For example, you don't want to have a subcategory with just one post in it. I mean, you could, but it doesn't look very professional. So for example, if I was to use a subcategory in the tutorials, I could do one for OBS, because that's the software I'm using right now, or XSplit, which is what I use for the live streams. Now I already know that those subcategories will be full of articles because there's so much you can do with each piece of software. This, as long as it's relatable to the main topic of the website in general, which is YouTube, then I can write to my heart's content. Okay, so what about tags? Now in WordPress, you have 2 different forms of organizing your content. That's categories and tags. Categories I just showed you. You can set up categories for different types of content. The tags are kind of like extra keywords that relate all the articles that are relatable together. So let's take this article for example. Right now I'm writing a review about using Canva for YouTube channel art, and you can see over here on the right, the categories, it's under reviews because it's a review. But if I want to connect all these together, I can use tags such as Canva, YouTube channel art, free graphic app. Now, any other article that I write that has those same tags will be connected to this blog post as well. Now, this is kind of handy when you start getting a lot of different types of content. People are looking for specifics. So if somebody wants in there and is really excited to learn all they can about YouTube channel art, then they can click on that tag and it'll show them every post that's related to that tag. That means you want to make sure that your tags are relevant to the topic that you're writing about. Personally, I only use up to 3 maximum tags per article. Technically, you can use as many as you want, but at that point it starts getting a little bit more convoluted than necessary. Then as you start creating more content, the list of tags will appear underneath that tag section in WordPress. At that point, you can just click on the tag that you want to use. Not to mention that there's a lot of plugins out there that'll organize your content by tag. It'll show articles in the middle, and like you might also be interested in, and then it'll show as many articles as you want according to the tags. In the last video, when I set up my website through WordPress Customizer, I set up the relevant posts at the bottom of the website to run by tags. So tags can actually be kind of useful, and you can set up pages specifically for the tags if people click on them. So there's quite a bit you can do with them. Just remember, sometimes less is more. You don't want to overdo it. Now when it comes to ideas for your content, that's going to be completely up to you, what your niche is about, and how you want to write. However, there are a slew of tools out there that you can use to find the best type of content. You want to focus on keywords that have a high search volume. So if you use tools like Google Ads Keyword Planner, which is free to use, you can see that average monthly searches for your search phrase, like for this one in particular, is 1,000 to 10,000 per month. So we can take any one of these and create content with it. So like YouTube banner, banner templates. These are giving me all kinds of ideas of things to write about, cover photo. Wow, yeah, there's a lot of, like I can already think of like 7 or 8 articles just from this search. And the AdWords Keyword Planner isn't the only tool out there that's decent when it comes to coming up with search phrases. I also use Surfer SEO and Keywords Everywhere, the 2 plugins for Chrome. In fact, I've also done a video about the different keyword tools that I use, and you can click on the description right here. Now, these are all free tools that you can get started using right away. And another one that I like to use is Rank Tracker, and I've done an article about it, and I think a video too. And Rank Tracker is probably one of the ones I would probably wind up spending money on. For starters, it gives you all kinds of information that you want. You can analyze your competition, and you can run as many projects as you want for about $150 a year, as opposed to a lot of other tools out there that'll charge you $150 a month. And once we start coming up with some ideas, I like to use a spreadsheet. Yep, in Google. So from here, I like to put in the ideas that I was thinking about doing, what the focus key phrase is going to be that I found in any one of the keyword tools that I use, the keyword volume for that specific key phrase, and then I'll research to figure out how long I want my word count, any other key phrases I want to add in the article, links to references such as the competition, and then I'll have my title, the date it was published, and my URL. That way I have tracking. But this will let me keep track of all the different ideas that I want to do. And then I'm a bit of a dork, so I created statuses. So research, pending, assigned, published. Later, I'm going to put in all my categories so I know what categories all the content's going to. Now, the reason why I do that is so that I can arrange these at any time to show me, like if I want to arrange them by category, arrange it by status, keyword volume, and then I just work down the list that way. But the spreadsheet will give me an idea of what kind of content I want to write next, and I'm able to go off that. It's always online. I like using Google because it's always there. If I use my laptop while I'm on the road, I can look it up. So it's just handy. But in any case, you can use pretty much any keyword tool as long as you're able to get something out of it. Everybody's going to have their cup of tea. So I would suggest trying as many of the free ones as you can and seeing which ones work best for you. Now keep in mind that these categories are essentially my starter categories. I'm sure I'm going to add more as time permits. But it gives me an idea of what kind of articles I want to write about, what I have planned coming up, depending on the keyword search tools that I use. So let's take that YouTube banner idea that we saw in Google Ads. Do I make that a listicle? Should I make that a how-to? Or maybe use a specific tool on how to make, like say, use Canva to make a YouTube channel banner? There's all kinds of ways you can run with it. And if you're not sure what to write about, I suggest taking to Google, search for that key phrase, and see what everybody else is writing. Now, you don't want to copy what everybody else is writing, but it can give you an idea of what people are expecting when they put in that search term. And then you just take a look at what they got and decide how you can make that better. What more can you add to it to make it your own? Because that's the biggest thing about trying to compete with content on Google. It's all about who has the best information for what people are looking for. Now, the biggest thing you want to stay away from is that you don't want to regurgitate the same information that's all over the place. In fact, Google's algorithm changes last year are kind of putting a kibosh to that. They don't want 5 or 6 lists of the exact same thing. To get your articles to stand out more, you got to provide a little bit of extra as to why Google and people would want to visit your site instead of somebody else's. So there we have it. We have our content ideas set up. I'm going to start planning some stuff out, get some content written, and go from there. Now, once I get about 10 articles, I'll start pushing more for the monetization part. And I will make a video about how to do that with AdSense. Fairly quick and easy. And then we'll start playing around with affiliates. Well, affiliate links anyway. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, you can always leave them in the comments section down below. I read pretty much everything that comes my way. Anyway, have a good day, and I'll see you next time.